Young Master Kim came from a family where money was never a concern, yet his true passion was cycling. To him, riding wasn't just a sport, it was a way to taste freedom. So when he organized a grand cycling race around the lake, the entire business circle turned up, and to my surprise, I had been invited as a special guest. But before the race even began, my world cracked. At the starting line, I spotted my wife, and beside her, her junior schoolmate Peter, here to compete. I barely had time to process the sight when she suddenly walked up and slapped me, hard, in front of everyone. Her voice rang sharp, slicing through the crowd. "Do you have to follow me everywhere, Eric? You don't even know how to ride a bike. What are you doing here, making a fool of yourself?" I was seconds away from pulling out the special invitation in my pocket when Peter laughed. The arrogance in his tone was unbearable. I laughed too. "Want a race?" I asked. He smirked. "Sure. If I lose, I'll strip and swim across the lake naked. But if you lose, you'll divorce Elizabeth." I finished. My voice was steady, my eyes locked on his. The crowd gasped, some even cheer at the absurdity. To them, I looked like a man digging his own grave. None of them knew the truth, that I had once been the brightest star in the cycling world, a name whispered with awe. I had only disappeared because my family forced me into early retirement. "Whoa, who's this loudmouth?" Someone from the sidelines jeered. "The loser has to get divorced? Now this is getting interesting. Look at him, he's past 25. Everyone knows your body declines after that." Laughter spread like wildfire, echoing around the lake. Business moguls and CEOs, many of whom had brought in professional cyclists to represent them, now turned their mocking eyes on me. Elizabeth's face flickered with something that looked like concern. For a fleeting moment, I thought she was worried about me. But then her lips curved into a sneer. "Eric, just give it up. You might not care about losing face, but Peter and I do. He's racing on my behalf today." The meaning behind her words hit me instantly. This wasn't about love, it was about business. Whoever won today would earn the chance to work with the Kim family. That was why these wealthy men had hired seasoned athletes. Elizabeth wasn't just humiliating me. She was protecting her investment. She didn't want me ruining her chances. The sting of her betrayal burned deeper than the slap. My own wife, standing there in front of everyone, openly siding with another man. I swallowed the bitterness and forced a smile. But Peter wasn't about to let it go. He stepped forward, gave me a smug look from head to toe, and chuckled. "Eric, if you want to race, then let's race. I don't mind. I'm just worried your body won't keep up." Then he turned to Elizabeth, his voice dripping with mock assurance. "Don't worry, Elizabeth. He won't tire me out. I'll finish him quickly and still have energy left for the real competition." The crowd stirred with excitement. One CEO, eager to stir the pot, offered us both bikes. Peter, basking the attention, introduced himself like a performer on stage. "Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Peter, racing today on behalf of Vast Sea Company and Chairman Elizabeth. My total ride mileage? Between 3,000 and 5,000 kilometers. I've taken part in countless events, Tour de France, local cycling festivals, all with solid results. Currently ranked T1. The tycoons nodded, impressed. To their ears, his words sounded professional, convincing. But to me, it was noise. Every achievement he rattled off, I had already surpassed years ago. Except I had medals and certificates from professional competitions to prove it. He had amateur experience, nothing more. Still, the crowd didn't see that. They only saw me, the supposed fool, standing there quietly. Some joked I should just jump into the lake now and save myself the embarrassment. I clenched my jaw, my patience running thin. "It's too early to talk about divorce when the race hasn't even started," I said calmly. But instead of silencing them, my words only made me look stubborn in their eyes. "Come on, Eric. Don't push yourself. Yeah, there's no shame in losing to a pro. Don't throw yourself into this because of pride. This isn't just a game. Everyone here has credentials." Peter's mask slipped then. His smirk hardened into a sneer. "If you're really that confident, why do we raise the stakes? That tiny bit earlier feels boring, don't you think? Sure, I said. My tone didn't change. Calm, unshaken. Whatever you want to play, I'll play it to the end. Peter laughed. The kind of laugh that made the crowd lean closer. Then let's add one more condition. The loser has to quack like a duck in front of everyone. Wouldn't that be fun? Gasps, chuckles, a wave of amused whispers rolled through the crowd. Elizabeth's face flushed with anger. She stepped toward me, nearly trembling. Eric, will you just stop? We've been married for years. How come I never even knew you were into cycling? What are you trying to prove? Her words twisted inside me. 3 years of marriage. 3 years where she never noticed, never cared, never once asked about the bike gathering dust in our basement. And now she had the audacity to make it sound like I was the one at fault. If you ask me, she hissed, you should just admit defeat. Her voice wasn't concerned. It wasn't about my health. It was about her reputation. She didn't want to lose face in front of these people. Peter caught it immediately and, sensing her frustration, stepped in with that fake, gentlemanly charm. Don't worry, Elizabeth, he said smoothly. I'll go easy on him. I'll make sure he doesn't lose too badly. And just like that, the stage was set. My wife's betrayal, Peter's arrogance, the crowd's mockery, all of them blind to the truth, blind to the man I used to be. Because what they didn't know was that I had once been the fastest man on 2 wheels in this entire country. Elizabeth let out a breath she didn't know she was holding, her shoulders loosening as she turned toward Peter. If only Eric were half as considerate as you, she said softly, we wouldn't be in this mess. And then, like a knife, she glanced at me. Just one quick look, but it was enough. Watching them stand side by side, close enough to be mistaken for a couple, bitterness swelled in my chest. Peter clapped his hands together, grinning as if the stage belonged to him. All right then, since everything's settled, let's get this race started. He strolled toward the starting line, stretching like a showman warming up before the spotlight. Then he turned back to me, tossing something onto the ground at my feet. Cycling shoes. Here, Eric, he said, voice smooth, generous, almost charitable. You didn't bring any gear, right? These are clip-in shoes. I'll lend them to you. We look about the same size. I stared at them. Perfectly good equipment, the kind any serious rider would take. But disgust flickered across my face. No thanks, I said flatly. You can keep them. The crowd erupted in laughter. To them, my refusal wasn't confidence. It was ignorance. They thought I didn't even know what clip-ins were for. Their mocking voices rose like a chorus. I shook my head, turned my gaze to Peter, and spoke low but clear. No, I'm not wearing them because to deal with someone like you, I don't need high-end gear. The words landed like firewood on an open flame. Instantly, the jeers grew louder. Arrogant. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Elizabeth's face darkened with shame, her voice sharp as a whip. Why must you embarrass me like this, Eric? Peter laid a comforting hand on her shoulder, soothing her with fake reassurance. Elizabeth, it's normal. Ordinary people always think they're invincible after a few days of practice. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. With that, he turned back to the starting line. The referee raised a flag, and in a blur, the race began. Peter exploded forward, pedaling with wild energy. His cadence was rapid, almost reckless, as if he planned to crush me in the first few seconds. I followed at a steady, almost leisurely pace. Calm, controlled. When I glanced at him pulling ahead, I couldn't help but chuckle under my breath, because I knew something the crowd didn't. At the start of any serious cycling race, pros don't sprint. They ease in steady pedaling, moderate cadence. You conserve energy. You protect your legs from lactic acid, your joints from strain. Warm-ups have been rushed. Sprinting now was begging for disaster later. But Peter didn't know. Or maybe he thought he was above the rules. Why is he so slow? Someone in the crowd laughed. Does he even know how to ride? Another jeered. This race is over before it started. The business moguls scoffed, but their hired athletes watched with more thoughtful eyes. My breathing was calm, my pace unwavering. I even had the luxury of admiring the way the sunlight glittered off the lake. Each time Peter tried to surge ahead, I reeled him back in effortlessly, like a shadow he couldn't shake. Through the earpiece, Elizabeth's voice cut in, sharp and angry. "Eric, if you're in a race, then race seriously. Stop humiliating me. I must have been blind to marry you. You've done nothing but embarrass me." Before I could respond, Peter's voice followed, dripping with false comfort. "Elizabeth, don't worry. You chose me. I won't let you down." Their little duet in my earpiece almost made me laugh. What were they even doing? Flirting mid-race? Meanwhile, the crowd was getting louder, bets flying left and right. Every single wager landed on Peter. Not a single one for me. My odds stretched ridiculously high. I didn't hesitate. I bet on myself. That only fueled the laughter. First time I've seen someone so desperate. 20 grand on himself? He's throwing money away. Elizabeth's voice snapped in again, furious and cold. "Eric, listen to me. Any money you lose has nothing to do with me or Vassy Company. Don't come crawling to me for a cent." Her words burned. I already knew where I stood in her heart, but being publicly disowned like that, broadcast to everyone, lit a fire in my chest. I gripped the handlebars harder, anger pulsing through me. My foot slipped on the pedal for a fraction of a second. The bike wobbled, then steadied. Nothing serious. But the cameras caught it, replaying it on the big screen. The crowd erupted again. "Did you see that?" He almost wiped out. Should have worn the clip-ins. Amateur mistake. This guy can't even ride properly. Elizabeth's voice returned, sharp enough to cut. "Stop making a fool of yourself. Quit now, and I'll cover the money you bet. Don't you dare embarrass us in front of young Master Kim. If this partnership falls through because of you, I swear I'll never forgive you." But her words washed over me like static. The race had already begun, and I wasn't about to stop. Peter's voice came through the mic, calm on the surface but laced with arrogance. "Eric, let go, man. If I remember right, you're what, 5 years older than me? Almost 30. Why put yourself through this? Quit before things get ugly. Don't embarrass Elizabeth. Don't ruin her business deal. Honestly, maybe you shouldn't have raced at all." He even sighed as though he cared. "I get it. You're new and your ego's high. But at your age, it's too late to catch up to me. I'm not trying to crush you. It's just reality." Elizabeth's voice cut in sharp, her anger bubbling over. "Eric, you completely humiliated me." I laughed coldly, my legs pumping in the same steady rhythm. "Humiliated? Now you feel humiliated? But when you were cozying up to your sweet little junior here, humiliation wasn't on your mind then, was it? What are you implying?" Elizabeth's voice cracked to the earpiece, flustered and furious. "Eric, are you seriously accusing me? Fine. When we get home, we're getting divorced." The words hit harder than the slap earlier. 3 years of marriage, tossed away like a broken contract. And as if that wasn't enough, she turned to Peter without hesitation. "Peter, crush him. Don't hold back. Show him what a loser he really is." Fueled by her command, Peter surged ahead again, legs pounding, his bike tearing forward with fresh fire. And for a moment, I had to admit, what he said earlier wasn't entirely wrong. He was 25, right in his prime. Strength, stamina, endurance, all at their peak. Watching him now, even some of the pro athletes in the crowd grew wary. But then they relaxed again, because they saw what I saw. No rider could burn that much energy this early and last until the end. The CEOs leaned back in their chairs, smirking at Elizabeth. Their voices dripped with sarcasm. "Chairwoman Elizabeth, maybe your husband should just drop out. He's 30, not exactly young anymore." "Exactly. If he loses, won't it be worse for your reputation than his? We all have to see each other again in the future. Why make it awkward? And besides, your real cyclist still has to compete later. Wouldn't want to waste his energy on this." Their laughter cut through the air, and Peter sees a chance for one more jab. "Did you hear that, Eric? Even they say you're out of your league. Just quit already." But his sentence was swallowed by the sound of gasps. "What's going on?" "Eric's speed. Look at that. Wasn't he crawling earlier? How is he accelerating like this?" Peter glanced behind him, expecting nothing. At first, relief washed over his face. I still looked far away. No change. But the voices in his earpiece didn't stop. That cadence, it's already higher than most amateurs. He looked again. His pupils shrank. The gap, smaller. I lifted 2 fingers in a casual peace sign, then leaned in, pushing harder. My speed surged again. You! Peter's voice trembled between shock and denial. He scrambled to reassure Elizabeth. Don't worry. He's still far from catching me. If he keeps up that pace, he'll burn out before the finish. I almost laughed. Burn out? This was just me warming up. So I spoke, voice light, taunting. Peter, why don't we make this more interesting? Forget the swim. Whoever loses has to streak half a lap around the lake. A bet like that would make headlines by morning. Peter hesitated, teeth gritted. Fine, don't regret it later. I settled back into rhythm, actually enjoying myself now. The breeze off the lake was cool, refreshing. The rider who had loaned me the bike muttered under his breath, suspicion in his voice. Something's off. Look at him. It doesn't even seem like he's going full power. The people around him leaned in as he pulled up the display for my bike. Numbers lit the screen, cadence, speed, rising steadily, smoothly. No sudden burst. No wasted energy. Just control. No way. Who accelerates like this without sprinting? The crowd buzzed with disbelief. Peter's face twisted, his certainty unraveling. Is the sensor broken? No way he's putting up numbers like this. He's not even a pro. This has to be a joke. But the truth was staring everyone in the face. Every piece of equipment had been calibrated, tested by staff. Nothing was broken. Nothing was fake. The distance shrank. 2/3 of the race gone, and I was closing in fast. Peter's breathing crackled through the mic, ragged, uneven. Panic creeping in. I steadied my voice, calm as ever. Peter, watch your pace. The final sprint hasn't even started yet, and your breathing's already breaking down? Aren't you supposed to be top level? Do I really need to coach you through this? Peter sneered. Still trying to play the alpha. Shut up. You think I don't know how to breathe? You just got lucky catching up. Don't fool yourself. To prove his point, he let go of one handlebar, raised his middle finger at me, and then slammed his weight into the pedals, veins straining in his legs. Elizabeth's voice tore through the earpiece, shrill and desperate. Peter, go. This is it. The final stretch. Everything depends on this. Her cheers rang loud, but the rest of the crowd had fallen silent. The way my pace kept climbing, the way my breathing stayed calm, it made people uneasy. Their whispers slipped through the comms. Does he look like an amateur to you? His numbers, that's professional level, isn't it? Someone turned to Elizabeth for answers, but she stayed silent, her jaw tight. At the 1 kilometer mark, Peter and I lowered our bodies, both preparing for the sprint, and then the channel crackled with fresh noise. A new voice. Step aside. Young Master Kim has arrived. The host himself, the man behind the entire event, had finally shown up. He strolled out of his luxury car with that lazy, careless air that only comes from too much money. His arrival sent a wave of flattery through the crowd. Young Master Kim. The host is here. He's got money to burn. Of course he'd show up now. Kim's eyes flicked to the big screen. He squinted at the feed, unimpressed. What's this? A race already? Did the main event even start? One of the businessmen scurried to explain. No, young Master Kim. This isn't official. Just a warm-up between Vast Seas riders. Kim's gaze lingered, sharp and unreadable. Then why are they racing each other? And where's the boss of Vast Sea? Elizabeth finally stepped up, voice heavy with false patience. Young Master Kim, my husband insisted on racing the cyclist I hired. I tried to stop him. Really, I did, but he wouldn't listen. Kim drew out his response with a slow, knowing, oh, I see. He gave nothing away, neither approval nor scorn. But Elizabeth wasn't done. She switched to a private channel and snapped. Eric, stop this right now. Kim is here. The real race is about to begin. Don't embarrass yourself any further. Just surrender. I laughed coldly. Surrender? Look closer, Elizabeth. Anyone with eyes can already see who's winning. With that, I surged forward. My bike flew beside Peter's. Elizabeth's voice cracked with panic. Fine. I won't divorce you, okay? Just stop. This time, I really did laugh. Elizabeth, if you'd said that 2 hours ago, maybe I'd care. But now, I don't give a damn. I inhaled, steady, and unleashed everything. The monitoring team shouted, Look at those numbers. Cadence 125. Speed 37 kilometers an hour. He's spiking. He's sprinting. Eyes went wide. That's pro level. That's elite. Peter's rhythm collapsed. His bike swayed, almost throwing him off. His voice cracked in disbelief. Impossible. He's just a washed-up man in his 30s. How could he ride like this? But no one answered, because no one was watching Peter anymore. Every gaze was locked on me. From the distance, 2 riders came into view at the finish line, and the one in front was me. I pushed harder. The air sliced past my face. Peter's ragged wheezing filled my ears as I overtook him with clean, effortless power. The crowd gasped. Did you see that? He passed him. So smooth, so fast. After this long, he still has that kind of kick? Unbelievable. Elizabeth's face was frozen in shock. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. By the time I crossed the finish line, the race was already decided. The referee's whistle blew sharp in the air. And then silence. Young Master Kim stood first, clapping with a grin that could mean anything. Slowly, reluctantly, the others followed with scattered applause. I coasted to a stop, steadying my breathing, ignoring the water bottle a staff member tried to hand me. I didn't need it yet. Moments later, Peter staggered across the line, pale and broken. He nearly collapsed off his bike. No applause followed him, only dark expressions from the CEOs who had put their money on him. And Elizabeth, her eyes burned with fury. Peter finally found his voice, hoarse and wild. Eric, how were you that fast? Did you cheat? Did you use something? But no one rushed to defend him. Not anymore. I didn't even bother responding to Peter's shouting. Instead, I faced the gathered bosses, Elizabeth included, and spoke evenly, almost casual. Everyone placed their bets, didn't they? I trust you'll honor them. Their faces tightened, unwilling, but with young Master Kim present, none of them dared go back on their word. Still, one voice cut through, changing the subject with deliberate timing. Now that young Master Kim's here, why don't we begin the official race? The contempt that rose in my chest was instant. Begin the race now, right after Peter, and I had drained ourselves? What a convenient ambush. A move like that wasn't competition. It was exploitation. Elizabeth's expression soured, her frustration spilling over, while Peter lay collapsed on the ground, utterly spent. And of course, once the idea was out, others jumped on it. What's the problem? Even if Vast Sea skips this round, that doesn't mean you automatically win. Exactly. They're the ones who chose to burn energy on a private race. Why should the rest of us wait? The crowd split in two, some demanding the race continue, others shaking their heads at the shamelessness of it all. And then, finally, young Master Kim, silent until now, lifted his head. His voice cut through like a blade. There's no need for another race. The venue fell still. He pointed to the massive screen towering above us. You all saw the numbers. Tell me, does anyone here have a rider who can beat that? Silence, because those numbers weren't just good. They were national competition level, and I'd hit them without breaking stride. My true limit? Nobody could even guess. The hush stretched on until Kim walked to my side, raised my arm high, and announced with a grin, in that case, the champion of the Million Enterprises Cycling Championship is Eric. For a heartbeat, the venue stayed frozen. Then applause rolled out in waves, thunderous and reluctant all at once. Elizabeth finally blinked herself back to reality. Her expression flipped like a switch, forced a light plastered over her shock. She hurried toward me. Eric, you really are the champion. Her voice turned sugary sweet, almost cloying. So this means Vast Sea will be partnering with the Kim group, right? Shameless. Absolutely shameless. I didn't hesitate. Sorry, winning doesn't mean Vast Sea gets anything. Elizabeth, need I remind you, you're the one who lost. Her smile cracked. Embarrassment burned through her face, but she forced composure. Eric, don't be petty. I only said those things earlier because I was upset. Now we're talking business. Don't ruin this. I'll make it up to you when we get home. I shook my head and laughed coldly. No, and I meant it. What part of no don't you understand? Her mask slipped. Frustration darkened her tone. What's that supposed to mean? Are you questioning young Master Kim's decision? That made me laugh outright. I turned to Kim. So what about you? Are you backing me on this? Kim scratched his head, then grinned. I'm with my bro on this one. The entire crowd froze. He just called you what? Elizabeth's voice trembled, her face white with shock. Peter stood dumbstruck. I slung an arm over Kim's shoulder with a grin. Good kid. Still remember I'm your big brother. Huh? Elizabeth's eyes went wide, like her entire world had just been flipped upside down, because I'd never told her. Not once. I sighed. I was going to tell you eventually. Elizabeth, Luis here is my half-brother. I'm part of the Kim family, too. Back then, after my mother passed and my father remarried, I'd left home, took my mother's surname, Lin, and cut ties. But over the years, the bitterness faded, especially since Luis's mother had never resented me. She raised him without poison in his heart, and I grew to see him as my real brother. Luis grinned wide, proud as ever. Yep, he's my big brother. Elizabeth stumbled over her words, panic flooding her voice now. Why you never told me? Eric, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Please, take it back. Vast Sea needs his partnership. I ignored her, took a long sip of water instead. Her voice cracked as she turned desperately to Luis. Young Master Kim, please. I was blind. I didn't see clearly. I'm begging you. But Luis had already seen everything he needed to during the race. His patience was gone. Man, I almost called you sis-in-law earlier. What a joke. You don't deserve my brother. You've got no right to beg. He cut her down clean. I turned to Peter, who was still pale and trembling. Now about that bet. You lost. Half a lap around the lake. Clothes off. And don't forget to quack like a duck. Luis burst out laughing. Bro, you're savage. I crossed my arms, grinning, as every eye turned to Peter, his face drained of color. He stammered, voice shaking. See, come on. We're all adults here. Isn't that going too far? And then, of course, he turned to Elizabeth for rescue. Elizabeth! After weighing her options, Elizabeth finally made her choice. She turned on Peter, her face a mixture of annoyance and exasperation. Enough already. You lost fair and square. I didn't agree to that bet for you. If young Master Kim wants to see it, then let him see it. Her glance, though fleeting, was almost flattering toward us, an acknowledgement that she was finally on the right side of the moment. Peter had no choice. Humiliation burned in his eyes, raw and unyielding, as he followed through with the bet. The entire atmosphere shifted instantly, from tense and competitive to absurdly hilarious. Laughter erupted, filling the venue with relief and light-hearted chaos, until Peter, red-faced and furious, stormed off, leaving the echo of his embarrassment behind. Elizabeth, however, clung to the tiniest thread of hope. She hesitated, as if measuring the last chance she could seize. So, does this mean I can still? Luis, ever precise, cut her off with a simple, sharp word. No! Her protest came immediately, her voice trembling with desperation. Why not? I already apologized. Eric and I are still married. Why shouldn't I get this chance? Luis's expression hardened. He shrugged, unconcerned, his contempt palpable, because this entire competition was meant for my brother. If you truly stood with him, Elizabeth, the winner of this prearranged race would have been you, but you threw that away. What do you expect me to do now? Around them, the CEOs leaned forward, intrigued. Luis's words rang with undeniable truth. Even if the race had been entirely fair, none of their carefully trained athletes could have matched me. The victory, the power, the prestige, none of it would have changed that. What everyone really cared about was a partnership slot. That one chance to collaborate, to claim influence. One voice finally asked aloud, "Young Master Kim, does that mean we can choose a new partner?" "Exactly," Luis replied. "We're all still here, aren't we?" Another voice chimed in, desperate for clarity. "Can you just tell us clearly how you'll pick? Save us from wasting more effort." Luis turned to me. I casually pointed toward the boss who had lent me the bike earlier, the one who had quietly supported me when the rest of the crowd had mocked and doubted. That small act of faith had made all the difference. Those who had bet and lost under the weight of Luis's quiet authority were forced to pay up, their pride bruised. Only Elizabeth still clung to the last thread of hope, to regain favor, to win back me. "Eric, I know there's probably nothing I can say now that would make you forgive me, but for the sake of our 3 years together, couldn't you give me one more chance?" Her voice cracked. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she glanced subtly toward Luis, searching for mercy. "I know this failure to secure the deal is my fault," she continued, her tone trembling. "I just hope there's a chance in the future for Vass C to work with the Kim group." But when I looked at her, all I felt was disgust. I didn't even bother with anger, just a cold, indifferent reply. "That's not up to me. I don't meddle in family business. As for forgiving you, don't be ridiculous." I turned away, walking beside Luis, leaving Elizabeth frozen in place, her hope dissipating with each step. She called my name, choking on it, and I paused only for a moment, letting the weight of her gaze sink in. Then, in the simplest, coldest tone I could muster, I said, "Make sure to send over the divorce papers. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other." The crowd slowly dispersed, leaving Elizabeth standing alone, tears streaming down her face. Her attempt to salvage the situation with Peter failed completely. She blamed him for everything, reclaiming nothing of what she had once given him and ejecting him from her life entirely. Meanwhile, her attempts to reconcile with me were met with nothing but the cold, official summons of the court. By the day of the divorce ruling, she appeared haggard, miserable, tears marking a trail down her cheeks. She stared at me, her voice trembling, rage and despair intertwining. "Eric, do you really have to treat me like this? What did I mean to you? What did we mean? If you go through with this, I swear I'll..." She even tried to use threats of suicide to sway me, producing a small fruit knife, somehow smuggled past security. Guards pinned her instantly, but I knew her too well. Every ounce of her despair was a performance. She may have been foolish, but she was still a businesswoman. Once she realized I was part of the Kim family, there was no chance she would ever truly control the situation. In truth, I had planned to divorce her long ago. I delayed only because the timing wasn't right. Now, the court granted the divorce, final and irrevocable. Elizabeth and I were no longer bound in any way. With the divorce finalized, Luis quietly began his takeover of Vass C. Not for power, but to stand up for me. I didn't interfere. I let him act as he wished. During this time, I returned to the Kim household, slowly mending ties. In truth, the resentment that had once seemed so strong was more my own youthful stubbornness than any true familial ill will. After the divorce, Elizabeth tried multiple times to reach me, but this time, the gates of the Kim estate remained firmly closed. I heard to the guards that when Elizabeth was escorted off the property, she was a storm of raw emotion, screaming, sobbing, begging to be let in. But no matter how loud she cried or what she threatened, it no longer concerned me. I had walked away, and she was now entirely on her own. In the months that followed, her world crumbled. Her company collapsed, swallowed by debts and mismanagement, leaving her empire of illusion in ruins. Peter, who had once fawned over her, abandoned her the instant her fortune vanished, attaching himself to a new, wealthier partner without a second thought. Elizabeth was left exposed, burdened with crushing debt and a reputation in tatters. Opportunities dried up. Luis made sure she couldn't climb back into the business world. Every reputable company in the city turned her away, unwilling to touch someone so thoroughly discredited. Stripped of all prestige, she ended up with a menial job at a nameless firm, reduced to a faceless office worker, earning a pitiful wage for monotonous, thankless labor. And then one day, fate delivered a cruel twist. After work, she saw Peter again, this time parading his new wealthy girlfriend like a trophy. Months of mounting pressure, humiliation, and despair finally broke something inside her. She slammed her foot on the gas, driving straight into them. Witnesses say she didn't stop after the first impact. She kept going over and over. Peter died instantly. His girlfriend was left in a coma, her life hanging by a thread. Elizabeth was arrested immediately. The law came down on her without mercy. But by then, none of it had anything to do with me. I had long since returned to the Kim estate, closing that chapter of my life behind me. For the first time in years, I could breathe freely, finally ready to begin anew.